Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Astika, English Literature 2014. In this video, presented in partial fulfillment of the requirement to obtain the Sarjana Sastra degree in English Literature, English Department, Faculty of Languages and Art, Universitas Negeri Semarang. And before we are going to discuss about my final project, I will show you the content of this video. The content of this video are Chapter 1, the background of the study, reason for choosing the topic, research question, and Chapter 2, related studies and related theory. Chapter 3, method of investigation. Chapter 4, or the main chapter, the important chapter in my final project is about finding and discussion, and there are some chapters of this chapter, which are Emma Bovary's personality, the needs of Emma Bovary, and I would explain about the id, the ego, and the superego of Emma Bovary, and then the causes and the effects of her action. And the last chapter is conclusion and suggestion. Let's go to the chapter 1. Background of the study. Well, and Warren said, literature represents everything. Novels, dramas, and poetries are all considered literary work. Literary work vary from other scientific literature such as newspaper, journals, and magazines because they are utilize limitless languages. Literary works are creative works whose explanation is more widely accepted than non-fiction work. Psychology and literature issues are not something completely new because the character or the figure in literature must be brought to life and given a soul that can be accounted for by psychology as well. The issue might be one that arises in everyday life. As a consequence, literary works have their own universe, which is the product of an author's collection of work that are beneficial to be appreciated, understood, and utilized by society. In a novel, it must be there a conflict between characters in the story. According to Nurgian Toro, 2005, conflict is an important part in developing a story. In the theory of fiction studies, conflict is defined as something unpleasant that occurs and is responded to by the character in the story, and if the character have the freedom to choose, the character will not choose the incident happen to them. Conflict by conflict, followed by event, will cause increase the conflict more large. And in this research, I am using a novel with title Madame Bovary. Madame Bovary is a novel of French writer Gustave Flaubert and that published in 1856. Emma is a beautiful, particularly dressed young woman who has received a good education in a convent. She has a powerful yearning for luxury and romance inspired by reading popular novels. And Charles, a doctor, immediately attracted to her and visits his patient far more often than necessary. Charles is a doctor, and when he comes to Emma's house to treat her father, Charles feels that he is falling in love with Emma. Emma Bovary is a woman that has strong determination, and if she has a will, it should be achieved. However, when her life one by one didn't go well, Emma Bovary got frustrated and made her did the bad thing. Emma feels the same feeling with Charles. Then Emma thinks that Charles is a romantic man. Charles is a perfect man. Then Emma agreed to marry with Charles. The next reason for choosing the topic. The first is this novel by Gustav Flaubert is very interesting because he tried to present Emma's romantic psychology and undercut it with the irony at the same time. Second is psychological approaches, much needed to know Emma's personality. Because psychology analysis can help us to know the id, the ego, and the superego of Emma. So we can know the id of Emma, the causes and the effect of her action, and what made her ended in her suicide. The next research question. First, how does the id, the ego, and the superego of the main character? Second, it is what are the causes and the effect from main character's action. We are going to the chapter 2. Chapter 2, there are related literature. The first is related study. Here, I want to show you two of the related studies. The first is from Ruhana 2009, conducted a research entitled Analisis Tokoh Utama dengan Teori Psikoanalisa Sigmund Freud pada cerpen Hana Akutagawa. In this study, in this research, analyzed the personality of the main character named Naigu, who has a long nose, different with other people, and he wants to shorten his nose to be like everyone else. In this research, Rohana found that the id of Naigu is stronger than other part, like the ego and the superego, because Naigu decided to shorten his nose, then accepted his condition with a long nose. The second is Bulan et al. 2019 did a research entitled The Psychological Analysis of Jamie Sullivan's Behaviors in Nicholas Sparks novel A Walk to Remember. In this research, the aim of this study was on psychoanalysis of the major character, Jamie Sullivan's conduct at the main character's most prominent psychoanalysis ideas based on Freud's personality theory. Jamie's dominant personality in Freud's three-party personality theory is superego, because since he behaves in a civilized manner, according to the finding of this study. Next is about related theory. The first is human need theory. Human needs are the basic needs that are needed by a human being. A human being should and even have to fulfill this kind of needs because they are very essential and important to fulfill. The second is about the psychological analysis or the personality analysis by Sigmund Freud. Kartini Kartono and Rustiana said, according to Plato, in about 400 BC, when it was still a philosophical psychology, psychology means the study of the nature and life of the human soul. The word psychology is derived from Greek, from word psyche, which means soul, and logos, which means science. Freud's subsequent version of the topographic model, the tripartite model, is the most renowned model of the human mind. This model divides the psyche into the three parts, the id, the ego, and superego. The first that I want to explain is about the id. The id might be thought of as a little devil on your shoulder, attempting to persuade you to do all those things that feel good even if they are incorrect. In Padilla 2015. Because the id is psychological wellspring, it is an important part once of the personality. The id is psychological component that has been with us from birth. The id is motivated by the pleasure principle, which tries to satisfy our desire and needs. If these are not met, a person will get uneasy. The second is the ego. The ego emerges from the id, according to Freud, and guarantees that the desire, its, and impulses may be expressed in ways that are acceptable in the actual world. Both the conscious and conscious unconscious minds are affected by the ego. To put it another way, the ego's job is to filter out the desire that it like to gratify based on truth. The last one is the superego. They pick a picture of knowledge of societal values and standards based on custom, religion, education, parents, and the environment. Because the superego is essentially a conscience, it gives rules for making both right and incorrect judgment. When aware, cognizant, and unconscious, the superego is present. Now we are going to discuss about the chapter 3. The chapter 3, method of investigation. The chapter 3, method of investigation. This method of investigation in this research, I'm using 7 methods. The first is the object of the study. The object of the study that I use to discuss is a novel. There is a novel in the study that I use to analyze is Madame Bovary, written by Gustave Flaubert, a French novelist. Second is the target of the study. The study focuses on the main character's personality of this novel, named Emma Bovary. The third is the role of the researcher. In this study, I held the role as the data collector and the analyzer. The next is type of the data. The data that is used in this study is qualitative, which contains two kinds of data. They are primary and secondary data. The next is procedure of data collection. And here, in procedure of data collection there are reading, identifying, arranging, and concluding. And the next is procedure of analyzing data. In order to solve the problem in the short stories, I try to analyze the data by doing some steps. There are 3 steps. They are close reading, exploring the data that are closely related to the problem, and interpreting the data with supportive approaches and theory from some certain references. And the last is procedure of reporting result. In this research, I use descriptive qualitative data in this research. Now we are going to discuss about the main chapter or chapter 4 on my research. The first is finding and discussion about Emma Bovary's personality and as reflected in Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert. Chapter 5, conclusion and suggestion. The conclusion. Emma Bovary tried to satisfy her its drive in seeking for ideal of life. It's caused by her illusion of love from romance book she consumed and her unfulfilled needs in her marriage. Her ego has supported the id to satisfy what she needs. The second is research result can be concluded that Emma's actions were caused by her romanticized view of love life and her dissatisfaction of her marriage with Charles. The effects of her action were her growing desires and finally committing betrayal toward her marriage with her husband and taking her own life to escape the consequence of her built up problems. Suggestion. I I suggested for the readers to have more observation about psychoanalysis in Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert in the future. I also suggested to discuss the psychoanalysis of other characters in more detailed perspective. For example, like Charles, uh, Charles' mother, so that the novel could be explored more from another point of view. I think it's all of my presentation. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.